Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about something a little bit different than what I normally do. Instead of my normal movie reviews, today I'm going to be talking about Luke Cage Season 1. This is the latest from Marvel and Netflix and stars Mike Colter as the title character. Now he did appear, if you haven't seen, in Jessica Jones Season 1, which I believe came out last year. That's also a great series and I recommend checking it out. And in case you're not a fan of comics, or if you haven't seen Jessica Jones, Luke Cage is a street-level hero similar to Jessica Jones and Daredevil. And one day they're going to be doing Defenders. I think that's next year after Iron Fist. But essentially what Luke Cage is he's super strong and he has impenetrable skin. Now in his own series, Luke is in Harlem, and he eventually becomes the most sought-after hero as well as a man on the run from his past. This series is by far the most impactful of the MCU. Yes, Captain America Civil War is the biggest budget, the biggest amount of stars, the biggest amount of heroes that we've seen to date until we get Avengers Infinity War. The Avengers are sort of referenced off and on throughout this series, but this is by far the most impactful of the entire MCU. It takes not only a street-level look at everything, because the Avengers are this big group who deals with like intergalactic stuff, robot armies, stuff like that. And what Luke Cage is, he's a street-level superhero. Eventually he becomes what's known as a hero for hire with the Defenders. But with this series, it's more of his origins, where he started from, how he's sort of coming up and becoming the hero that he will eventually become. The series also takes a great look into things that are happening in our everyday lives, including gun violence, relations with police officers, corruption, political corruption, media, how that's all streamed and how it's all sort of out there, how quickly things can change on somebody. It takes a look at a lot of different scenarios, including like Trayvon Martin case. It doesn't necessarily specifically point that out, but there are tons of tiny little clues scattered throughout this entire series that sort of reference that, and I think that's pretty impactful considering this is a Marvel character who's street level. It's not like a big and well-known character. I've known him as Power Man from the comics for quite some time. I remember having a couple Power Man comics myself. Power Man, he also gets referenced to as by Pops in the series, which is pretty cool. A nice little Easter egg there. And really what it is that Luke Cage is essentially the Everyman. And I think that's really something that's important here, because yes, the Avengers are like these big level heroes. They're the most popular. But Luke Cage is the Everyman who has everyday struggles, who is trying to get through every single day just like the rest of us. And he also happens to have these super abilities, and he finds himself responsible for taking care of certain situations. He is more of a man, in my opinion, than most of the MCU characters. He's definitely the most impactful, and I think he's the one who should probably be the most sought after, as far as this is a franchise that needs to be taken care of because it has a lot of great ideas, a lot of great themes, and Marvel and Netflix work really well together already with Daredevil and Jessica Jones, but Luke Cage by far brings all of these elements together visually and story-wise that make it such a great series to watch and engage with. And speaking of Power Man and Easter eggs, this series is scattered with tons and tons of Easter eggs to the Avengers, to Power Man's or Luke Cage's original costume from the comic books, which was super cool. It's only on screen for like 10-15 seconds maybe, and they make a quick little joke that's sort of like embracing how modern culture may take Luke Cage now. So they make quick little nods to things. And that's why I think Marvel is so good at, is leaving tiny little Easter eggs for people to enjoy. And Luke Cage is by far the best at doing this so far. As for the performances, Mike Colter, again, as the title character of Luke Cage, absolutely phenomenal. I don't know where this guy has been as an actor. I have not seen him in anything other than Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. But he is by far one of the best actors I have possibly ever seen. His acting is, although may not be like top notch as far as like Oscar worthy considered, whatever, I think that this guy is phenomenal. He brings such depth to the character of Luke Cage. Luke Cage already has a lot of depth in the comics, but the way that Mike Colter presents it as the Everyman, he's so relatable, and you really root for this guy in every scenario, whether the chips are down and he's really got to get himself out of a situation, or whether he's being praised for being basically the hero of Harlem. Mike Colter handles all of these aspects really, really well, and I can't wait to see more of him. The rest of the cast is also very well done for the most part. Misty Knight is very well done and portrayed as the detective. Shades is sort of like this creepy underground type of guy who you don't really trust, but you don't really know what he's up to. The gentleman who plays Cottonmouth, by the name of Mahershala Ali, I hope I didn't butcher that, he is absolutely spine-chilling in his portrayal of Cottonmouth. He does a phenomenal job of being this gangster who will do just about everything to win and beat Luke Cage and really bring his business to the next level. He's trying to be up and coming. He does a phenomenal job, and I can't say enough good things about his performance. Now, I say the casting is mostly good because there is one tiny little flaw, and I say that's with Alfre Woodard's character, Mariah Dillard, who is actually the cousin of Cottonmouth. She's a political sort of person. She's pulling strings left and right all throughout the series. But what's most confusing is that earlier this year, she played a completely different MCU character in Captain America Civil War. Now, if you're not like me and you just write it off, oh, this is another lady, whatever, then you don't notice these things and you can move on with your day. But it's just kind of confusing how Marvel would make such a small casting mistake such as that. But who knows, maybe they did that scene for Captain America years ago or something like that, and they just added it in. The writing and the story development of Luke Cage is also very, very good. Again, Marvel and Netflix know exactly what they're doing. They're both essentially at the height of their game, with Marvel coming off of Captain America Civil War, and Netflix basically running TV now. Although they don't have actual TV, they stream so many good shows and so much good content as far as their original content goes that they almost seem unstoppable at this point. I mean, they're doing such a great job, and I keep looking forward to their next series. Also, another big positive for this series is the music. It's absolutely phenomenal. If you're a fan of contemporary, hip-hop, jazz, soul, R&B, anything like that, this series has absolutely great music. There's such a variety, and you can enjoy it whether you're a fan of it or not. And it's such a nice thing to hear, because what I thought was most interesting is that there's a club called Harlem's Paradise, which is owned by Cottonmouth, the main villain of the series. And he has a lot of live performances, and getting to see these performances by not necessarily young people or like really old people, kind of a mix, which was nice to see, because you got hip hop, you have jazz, you have a little bit more contemporary type of stuff, and it's really interesting to watch, and it's even more interesting to listen to. There are, however, a few dips in the tempo, especially towards the latter half of the season, especially around the last 2 episodes. It sort of goes on a roller coaster. For the most part of the season, from like the beginning until about 3/4 of the way through, it steadily rises and stays pretty high level for most of the series. Like I said, a lot of tension, a lot of drama. It brings out a lot of issues that are prevalent in today's society. But then around the last 2 episodes, it sort of goes up and down. There's certain points where you're like, okay, can we get to the scene we're actually waiting for? Eventually they do get there, but they sort of a little bit of a roller coaster in those last 2 episodes. The biggest negatives that I have with Luke Cage are mainly, again, the pacing issues that occur mainly towards the latter half of the season, especially in the last 2 episodes, and then Alfre Woodard's character. Now, I say her character of Mariah Dillard because I feel like Alfre Woodard is sort of on this revolving door with 2 other actresses. Alfre Woodard, Viola Davis, and Angela Bassett, I feel like, are sort of these 3 sort of black female characters who are sort of replaceable with one another. Not that Alfre Woodard did a bad job or Viola Davis did bad in Suicide Squad. She was actually one of the positives. But I feel like they all sort of are interchangeable with each other. And with so much exposure towards their characters, especially with Alfre Woodard's character in Luke Cage and Viola Davis in Suicide Squad, I feel like they sort of feel replaceable with one another. If Alfre Woodard had taken the role of Amanda Waller in Suicide Squad, I feel like it would have been the same movie. I don't feel like there was anything particularly memorable about one or either performances, and I feel like they are easily interchangeable. But maybe that's just me. Let me know that in the comments below when you get a chance. But other than that, those are my 2 big negatives about this show. Everything about it is phenomenal. It was a non-stop pace for me, where I just wanted to get to the next episode and find out if Luke was going to be able to get out of what he was into, or if he was going to be able to fix the struggle that was happening in Harlem, both politically and with like drugs and guns and all of this political corruption. There's tons of great themes throughout this series, and I highly recommend watching it. The grade I'm going to give Luke Cage is an A-. This is by far the best pairing that I think Netflix and Marvel have created. Luke Cage is by far one of my favorite heroes, although he was little for a really long time. With this new exposure, with the great music, with the phenomenal acting, with even the great action. There's tons of great action sequences as well in this series. I feel like that this is going to not only launch Luke Cage as being probably one of the best of the MCU, maybe even of the DCU, and we'll see what happens with Justice League and the new Batman movie and all that. But I think he's by far one of the best characters we've ever seen on screen, and you just can't take your eyes off him. Mike Coulter does a phenomenal job, and not to mention that this series has probably one of the best phrases of the entire world when Luke Cage just goes, "Sweet Christmas." That's just like one of the best things, because he does it several times in different scenarios, and it's just one of those things that started to grow on me, and I've found saying in my everyday life. Needless to say, I love this series. I love Daredevil, I like Jessica Jones a lot, but Luke Cage by far took the cake for me. I highly recommend seeing it as soon as you can. It's only 13 episodes, similar to Stranger Things or usually first seasons that Netflix and Marvel or Netflix does. But I feel like that's definitely worth checking out. If you have an hour of free time every other day or something like that, definitely watch Luke Cage. It's a great thing to watch. Guys, that's my review for Luke Cage. Let me know what you think about it if you have seen it, where you're at in the series so far, or what your favorite MCU character has been so far down in the comment section down below. Also, be sure to leave a like if you like this video, as well as hit that big subscribe button towards the bottom to see future content like this, or go onto my channel and see videos like my Magnificent 7 review, my Storks review, my review for Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, Deepwater Horizon, or also my Power Rangers video, which I just posted yesterday, which I'm super excited about. Definitely check that one out. New trailer just dropped. I'm going to leave links to everything down below as well as up in the corner here. So be sure to check out all of those videos and be aware of future content that I may be putting out soon. I'm working as hard as I can to put out as good content as possible. Please, you guys, get some views, get some likes, subscribers, so on. So again, please share these videos with anyone. Shout it from the rooftops. Tell your friends, tell your family. Guys, thank you so much for watching. You really are the best. And I'll see you in the next one.